What's going on, guys? It's Low Floored and welcome back to another Dead Matter video. The devs have finally released a new dev block showing off some changes that have been made to Dead Matter in patch 0.6. And there's a lot to cover in this video, so let's just get right into it, guys. Hey survivors, we are close to completing the new 0.6 patch for Dead Matter, and we want to do a brief overview of the update to gather backer feedback before it goes out sometime next week. 0.6 is a very large update that not only includes a plethora of improvements that were made under the hood, but also a large amount of changes to the game overall. We have broken down this update to try and maintain readability, as this is a bit content heavy compared to our previous updates. If you are a backer that has experienced difficulty with our support system, please read the note from our team lead at the bottom of this update. As always, we hope you enjoy the update on what we've been working on. Let's get into it. Medical System Redux. There has been a significant overhaul to the medical system in Dead Matter. 80% of the code for the old character stat manager was rewritten to provide a simple and clean foundation for moving forward. Once the rewrite was completed, all of the existing medical conditions and the system that they interact with were replaced entirely. It was a bit of a painful rewrite that took quite a bit of time, but we now have a much more stable foundation to move forward on. The first notable change that comes from the medical system are the new HUD widgets that more clearly illustrate where your character's condition is. These widgets will always pop up when changes are made to the values that are present. We believe this will keep the player more informed about what's going on than the previous implementation. And I think this HUD looks pretty cool. It shows a lot about what's going on with your character. But at the same time, I kind of like more of the minimalist look from before, but that's just my personal opinion on it. We have also refactored stamina and split it into two different stats. Character stamina still functions identically to the previous iteration, where it would slowly go down when sprinting and starts to recover when the player is standing still. Combat stamina is new and is only used for melee attacks. This is to address an issue that a lot of backers encountered when they would drain their stamina with a melee weapon very quickly, which left them completely defenseless and useless for the rest of the fight. Combat stamina has a fairly quick recovery compared to the stamina used for movement, and this allows for more viability in combat. Combat stamina is something players should always monitor, as pushing back infected and keeping your distance is much more important than ever before, due to our new tag damage system. When characters take damage, they will be slowed down for a brief duration. This will make encounters with larger groups of infected deadly and melee combat much more satisfying. And it looks like with the new system, they're actually going more of a Tarkov route, where it kind of shows your health for each limb, which is pretty cool and I kind of like that. But I did think the old medical panel looked pretty cool. Since majority of our medical system has seen changes, so has the user interface. You can no longer drag and drop items onto the affected limb to treat them. Instead, we opted for the more simple solution of adding treatment options to all medical items. You can now just right click on a medical item that is capable of treating a condition. Select your target limb and start applying the item. So my question for this is, do you need a certain item for a certain type of damage? Like if you get bit, do you need to have a certain type of medical bandage or something like that? Or are all like medical items universal? I'm really interested to see how that's going to play out if they add different types of injuries. Healing and recovering blood have been simplified to make for a better overall experience. You can now restore health by using a med kit or a trauma bag. Your limb health is now your character's health, which is originally the role that blood filled. Blood will also now automatically be recovered provided your character is healthy. The speed at which blood is recovered is also influenced by your hunger and thirst. As a side note, we have gone ahead and removed the nutrition system for the time being. This has been a system that we've tried to implement without it becoming too overbearing or confusing. It didn't have the impact on gameplay that we were looking for, hence why we'll be pulling it until we can figure out how to better fit it in. This is something we would love community feedback on to help us guide our decision making. Now I don't know how easy it would be to implement something like this, but I mean, you would just make it, you eat shitty foods, you know, you're eating cupcakes or you're eating a bunch of pies and chips all the time and drinking pop, like your character is gonna get fat. You can have your character lose like strength stats or something like that. And then maybe since he's losing strength, he can't carry as much weight on him. Or if you want to be strong, you need to make sure that you eat a bunch of like meaty foods and protein, so then you can actually get your character stronger and then he can carry more weight. I think that would be a cool implementation. Character changes. We previously mentioned that a majority of the character stat manager was rewritten. Dead Matter Stat Manager is one of the core components for the survivor, and not only does it help handle the medical system, it also handles the former occupation system and the perk system. Many backers felt that they were not playing as true survivors because of how attributes would modify gameplay, and that there needs to be more equal footing between different characters. This is why we removed attributes and why perks will now be the primary differentiator between different character builds. We feel this adds a lot more control and gives player confidence in what to expect when making a new character. Perks also grant us a lot more creative freedom with this system, and balance becomes far less of an issue for everyone once attributes are out of the picture. Former occupations used to define a base set of attributes, but instead they will now grant a unique and powerful perk. This is to give former occupations far more purpose, and we believe this more closely aligns with our vision for the system overall. I'm just going to read the rest of this and we'll go back to what they just said right there. We've changed up the available former occupations for 0.6 and we've listed out each of them along with their perk. All of the perks listed below have already been written and integrated into 0.6. This is also true for all of the perks that you will be able to select during character creation. So they have Construction Worker. It instantly upgrades build structures from level 1 to level 2. That's pretty handy, especially when you're trying to build a base fast. The Police Officer's friendly damage from group members is reduced by 75%. And I'd say picking a police officer is pretty good if you have a bunch of trigger-happy friends, you know what I mean? They have a Delivery Driver, which gains a 20% boost to vehicle acceleration and braking. Emergency Medical Technician, ability to craft more advanced medical items. A Firefighter can carry 25% more weight, and there's additional damage and speed when using melee weapons. That's pretty huge. I mean, the more carry weight, the more you're going to be able to bring back to your base. And you're getting additional damage and speed when using melee weapons. That's probably going to be the meta, to be honest. Then they have the Blacksmith, where you can gain the ability to craft lockpicks and armor repair kits. I mean, as a blacksmith, I feel like the ability to craft lockpicks is pretty whack. I feel like anybody should be able to craft lockpicks. I mean, you could just take a bobby pin and, craft it. But that's just my personal opinion. I feel like they should be able to, repair guns if there is weapon degradation or something like that. But moving on with the Technician, you gain the ability to craft a variety of structure-related items such as locks for containers and doors. You can craft many recipes that are available to everyone with less components or generic components in place of specific components. And that's a pretty good one too. Because let's say your buddy's trying to craft, I don't know, nails in a bat. Maybe he needs like 10 nails and then you would need like only 5 and it would just get the same thing. And unemployed characters don't receive any former occupation perk, which is, I guess, kind of whack, depending how you look at it, but it makes sense. And let's go back to this. He said, this is to give former occupations far more purpose, and we believe this more closely aligns with our vision for the system overall. And I actually agree with them, because I remember seeing in devlogs, it was kind of like you need to pick a role, you know what I mean? If you have a whole group of 5, then you can have each player pick a different, former occupation. You can have the Construction Worker, where he's going to be the base builder, you know what I mean? Then you have your driver that's going to be driving everywhere because they can drive faster, you know what I mean? And then maybe a Technician so they could help out the construction workers with crafting and stuff like that. Then you have your buddy as a Firefighter. He's going to be like the front lines, you know what I mean? He's going to carry all the big shit. It just needs something so not everyone is going to be the exact same character, and it's going to be a lot more meaningful when you meet someone. Because if you come across a random player and, they're a construction worker, they can definitely help you out. Especially if you're a technician. I feel like you guys can really work together, What I do think is missing is that they need a mechanic though, because they have spoken about in the future that cars are going to have to be repaired. They're not going to spawn in working condition. So if you have a mechanic, that's really going to have a leg up, you know what I mean, when first starting out. And having that as an ally is going to be pretty big. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys have any ideas for any occupations? Put them in the comments below. Next, we have the new crafting system. We have added a user-friendly crafting system for 0.6. While players can still drag and drop items on top of each other for some recipes, we will be phasing that system out in favor of a new system. We won't be getting rid of items interacting with each other when you drag them on top of each other, but we will be restricting crafting to this menu where it makes sense. At the launch of 0.6, all of the crafting recipes that are available will be defined by their former occupation. After we launch 0.6, we will continue to extend the system with crafting benches and ways for players to unlock new recipes for their characters. And if they're going to take that route, that sounds like a lot like Project Zomboid. They should just have a bunch of different books, you know what I mean? They can have mechanics for beginners. And if you're not too familiar with mechanics, it's gonna, give you like a boost in XP. So when you start doing those certain tasks, you'll level up that skill or something like that. Next up, we have the armor system. And one of the overall aims for 0.6 is to push the game into a better direction and to make sure that every single element of the game is working when backers get their hands on it. Yes, please. One of the things that was missing from Dead Matter was a proper armor system for characters to use. Armor in Dead Matter was previously cosmetic, but that is no longer the case. Armor now mitigates a set percentage of damage done to limbs that the armor is covering. The armor will absorb damage that would have otherwise been sent to the player, which lowers your chances of being injured during combat. Since each different piece of armor has its own damage resistant value that influences how much damage is capable of mitigating, we will be adding a variety of different armor pieces for the player to wear. As an example, the football pads in the picture above mitigate only 15% of the damage that the player takes, whereas the heavy armor underneath will mitigate 65% of the incoming damage to the player. Armor will also cover a set of limbs. The sleeveless heavy armor on the left does not protect the player's arms, whereas the armor on the right will protect the player's arms and their torso. And they noted armor damage resistance values and the hit points of the armor are still subject to change before 0.6 goes live. And here we have the shading improvements. While we haven't implemented the new foliage that will be part of the big map update, we have made changes to the foliage shading to look a lot more appealing. We have also been making changes to the landscape materials for our world, which should result in less blurry textures when looking at the ground in first person. Then we have a note from the lead developer, Nick Z. As a project founder and lead developer, I was gutted when I saw how customer support was being handled. Due to a lack of resources, we were originally relying on a few volunteers because I was unable to directly address support requests due to time constraints. While they were understandably unable to handle the influx of people that needed help with their copy of the game or with the refund, it does not excuse the fact that cracks were allowed to form in our support system. I am sorry to tell all of the people that have been affected by this. I have taken steps to never allow this from happening again so that we can move forward with our community on a positive note. All right. Good shit, Nick. I like that. To address the issues we were facing, I moved our support system to be entirely in-house mid-January. We have hired full-time staff that are physically present here with us in the office so I can manage our customer support directly and effectively. We have been issuing refunds to those still wanting one for over a week now. If you are still interested in a refund for the game for whatever reason, or if you submitted a support request that went unanswered, then please email support@qisoftware.ca. and we will get back to you within 1 to 2 business days. I have directed our support staff to be present today and tomorrow, 13th and the 14th of February, 2021, to help handle requests as quickly as possible and to emphasize the fact that we want to help our supporters in any way that we can. Please note that our support hours are typically Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I've seen a lot of people asking for refunds and saying that they've been waiting for a refund, so here's your answer to that. And lastly, this update will finally be our first weekly update. Let's fucking go. Hell yeah. I know that we had promised this in the past, but due to the holidays and some limitations with our old website, we decided to hold off until the time was right and when we could approach things cleanly. One of the concerns that the team has is that we will not have enough content for these updates. So I would just come out and say it. Sometimes our weekly updates will be brief. Sometimes they will not contain a lot of content, and sometimes they will contain a lot of content. This is purely as a result of how game development works, and I wanted to establish this ahead of time to set expectations for our backers. And I don't know if you guys seen my last video, but that is literally what I was talking about in my video. Like, people just want to see what's going on with the game. Like, Kyle's been dealing with this bug, and it's taking a little bit of time to get this squashed, yada yada yada. Maybe you might have someone comment that's actually used Unreal and knows the issue that he's dealing with and actually found a fix for it. Maybe something like that could come out of it. But the fact that you're going to be communicating more with the community is really big, and I applaud them for that, and I hope that they can stick to it. Last but not least, I would like to thank all of the backers for their patience over the last few years. We have gone from an extremely understaffed team of 3 people with barely any resources to produce the project to more than 20 people actively contributing to the game, with multiple staff being able to work together from a physical studio. And that is great news, guys. That is great news, and I'm really happy that they're actually making some progress. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see for the 0.6 update. I mean, obviously I can't really talk about it when it does drop because it's under NDA, but whenever I can, I will be sure to let you guys know. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below, guys. I really do appreciate you coming out. I know you probably could have just read this shit yourself. So if you did enjoy it, make sure to like it. Make sure to like anybody's videos. You know, if you enjoyed the video, just hit that like button, hit that, comment a little bit just to help with the YouTube algorithm. Not just for me, but literally any YouTuber. It really helps and it could go a long way. But that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for coming out. I do appreciate it. I'm Lowflord, and stay toasty out there.